Welcome students. Today in this class we'll discuss about vernalization. Here a little small topic is left over in this lesson. After this topic vernalization we'll be finishing this lesson. But here before going to this vernalization, let us do a very brief recap of this photoperiodism. We have studied photoperiodism in our last class. Here in photoperiodism, the plants are exposed to a period of sunlight, plants are exposed to sunlight for a period of time, in order to induce flowering. So here depending on this exposure of plants to light, here the plants are classified into long day plants, short day plants and day neutral plants. One more category, that is day neutral plants. In long day plants, here above the critical, if the plants get sunlight above critical photoperiod, then they will flower. For example, this is the critical period. The critical period will be different for different plants. So for example, if we take critical period as 10 hours, of sunlight. So if the plant gets more than 10 hours, critical period is 10 for example. If they get above 10, that is more than 10 hours of sunlight, then they will flower. Then those plants will produce flowers. But if the plants get sunlight below critical period, if the plants get sunlight below the critical period, then they will not flower, they will not show any flowering. So such plants where the amount of that is the duration of time where the plants are exposed, it should be above critical period, then only they will flower. So such plants which needs light above critical period, those are called as long day plants. And same this one, if this critical period is if the plants need sunlight below critical period. So here also we will take an example of 10. We keep 10 hours of sunlight as the critical period. Now here, if the plant gets below this 10-hour sunlight, if they are exposed to sunlight below 10 hours, for less than 10 hours, then they will show flowering. But if the plants get more than 10 hours of sunlight, then the plants will not show flowering. So these plants require less exposure to light than the critical period. So such plants are called as short day plants. You remember this, day means sunlight. If they get less sunlight, if they need less sunlight than this critical period, then it is called as what? Short day. Less sunlight, short. More sunlight, that is above critical period, then they are called as long day plants. And there are one more variety of plant, that is day neutral plants. They are independent of light. If they get more than critical, if they get above critical sunlight above critical period, if they get sunlight below critical period, nothing will affect. Once the plant matures, that is once the plant finishes its vegetative phase, once the plant finishes its vegetative phase and enters into mature phase, then it will flower. It does not depend on the duration of exposure to light. So such plants which do not depend on the sunlight for flowering. So such plants are called as day neutral plants. They will flower once they finishes vegetative phase or once they enters mature phase, reproductive phase. Once they enter reproductive phase, they will show flowering irrespective of the time for which the plants are exposed to light. So those are, plants are categorized as 3 types based on the duration to which they are exposed: long day plants, short day plants and day neutral plants. Extension of it here, vernalization, another small topic but it is important. Vernalization, here plants are dependent on exposure to sunlight. Apart from this photoperiod, plants are also dependent on exposure to low temperatures. In photoperiod, the plants are dependent on the amount of sunlight, but apart from the amount of, that is exposure to some amount of sunlight, plants are also dependent on exposure to low temperatures to flower. For flowering, apart from the photoperiod, plants are also dependent on exposure to low temperatures. So the process of inducing early flowering in plants, by pre-treatment of seeds or young shoots at low temperature. So before flowering, if the plants, that is if the young shoots, if the young stems of the plant are exposed to low temperature, then they will show early flowering. In order to induce early flowering in plants, here the young shoots or the seeds of the plants, they will be treated with low temperature. They will be exposed to low temperature. The seeds or the young shoots will be kept at low temperature for a certain period of time. After keeping it at low temperature for a certain period of time, when they start growing again, they will produce flowers faster. So inducing early flowering in plants by pre-treatment of seeds or young shoots at low temperature, this process is called as vernalization. The process of pre-treatment of seeds or young shoots with low temperature, to induce flowering, to induce early flowering, then that process is called as vernalization. So pre-treatment, if they are pre-treated with low temperatures, if the young shoots or the seeds are pre-treated at early stages, then they will flower in later stages. In the later stages, they will show flowering. Here, the plants which grows in winter season and spring season, they will be, that is, we use this method of vernalization in the plants which grows in winter season and spring season. Here what happens is, when we flower, for example, wheat is there, watermelon is there, when they are planted in winter season, they are planted in winter season, what happens is, when we treat it, when they are planted in winter season, so in winter season it will take during this winter season, they will get cold treatment. They are exposed to low temperature, but they produce flowering in the next season, not in the same season. If we sow the seeds in winter season, during winter season what happens is the seeds will be treated with the low temperatures. They produce flowering in the subsequent season, in the next season. They produce fruits and flowers in the next season. So what the farmers will do is, they will, instead of planting in the later winter season, they will plant it in the early winter, or they will plant it in autumn season before the winter comes itself. They will plant the seeds in the autumn season. Okay, so when the winter comes, they will be treated with the low temperature and they will show flowering at the end of the winter season itself. They will show flowering at the end of the winter season. If we plant the seeds in autumn, if they plant the seeds in autumn season only, they will be vernalized in early winter. They will be treated or they will be exposed to low temperature during early winter. During early winter. So when they are exposed to that is cold during early winter, then what happens? Their apices, the shoot stem, the shoot, apices is, this is the shoot, the tip of the shoots, modified shoots or the floral shoots will show flowers. Will show flowers. So here, instead of planting them in winter, the seeds will be planted in autumn before the winter seasons, a little before winter season. Why? Because if they are planted in early season, that is autumn season, so during this early winter now, these seeds will be vernalized. Vernalized in the sense these seeds will be treated, because when they sow it inside the soil now, here because of the cold in the surrounding environment, the seeds will be treated with the low temperature. The seeds will be treated with the low temperature. They will be growing and the flowering will take place. So this is how, instead of growing in the winter season, because if we grow in the winter season, now we will get the crop in the subsequent season, next season. So instead of that, what the farmers are doing is, they are planting the planting the seeds in autumn season only, so that during early winter they get vernalized, they get treatment with the cool temperature. Then they will be producing flower at the late winter. They will produce flower during late winter, and we will get the crops in the we'll get the crops after that. Here this process of vernalization is also seen in biennial plants. Biennial plants, these biennial plants now, they produce flowering in once only. In the next year they will die. They produce flowers and they produce fruits, and in the next season these plants will die. So what happens is, during the early stages, during the early winter season, the biennial plants will be vernalized, and at the end of the winter season we will get the flowers. At the end of the winter season we will get the flowers. So vernalization is also seen in biennial plants, which does not live for a second season. Biennial plants, they does not live for a second season. They produce food only for once. They produce grains or food or whatever we are growing. So they will be producing only for once, and in the next season they will be dying. So to induce early flowering, these biennial plants will be sown in the early winter, and by late winter they will be able to produce flowers. By late winter they will be able to produce flowers. So this was about vernalization. Vernalization is nothing but treating of seeds or young shoots at very low temperature, because if the seeds and shoots are treated at very low temperatures now, then the flowering will be early. The flowering will be early. So if the flower is early, then the production of fruit will also be early. So if it is early enough, we can sell it in the market and we can get the price at in very short time. So that is why this vernalization is important. It is just one method to treat the seeds or young shoots with low temperature, so that it induces early flowering to get the crop at earliest possible. So with this we have finished all the topics. Here we have seen the growth and development in plants, how growth takes place, then how differentiation takes place, then we have seen growth hormone, that is regulators, auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid and ethylene. These are the 5 growth regulators, how they work, what are their functions. We have also seen seed dormancy, how to break the seed dormancy, what are the methods we use to break seed dormancy, why seed dormancy is caused. We have even seen what is photoperiodism, and now we have we know what is vernalization. With this we complete our chapter. This chapter is very important for short answers and very short answer. You will definitely get one short answer and one very short answer from this lesson. In very short answers, we have plasticity, we have this vernalization. Many answers are there which I have already said you in the previous videos. In the short answers, we have the physiological effects of auxins, physiological effects of gibberellins, cytokinins, how this ethylene is useful. So these are the important questions from this lesson. So we get one short question and one very short question from this lesson. So concentrate while listening, listen to the videos again and again. You will be understanding it.